Okay, now the Krisanne Hall show's at minute 2010 or so, and they're talking about the states are separate, independent sovereigns. I agree to that. The federal government is a creation of those separate, independent sovereigns. So let's see what they have to say.
Are independent, like the Supreme Court justice said. The states are independent, separate sovereigns.
And that's and I don't understand why. Well, I know why the word dual is in there because I'm telling you, that's what they teach us in law school, and that is a way, JC, to undermine the sovereignty of the state. So when you put
that's not what Mr. Paxton's trying to do.
Yes, we should ask those law school teachers where that is in the U.S. Constitution. If it's not spelled out, it's no law at all because of the supremacy clause in Article 6.
But that's what they do in his brain in law school. That's what they try to do to him.
So they put, well, and I'm not certain that he doesn't believe this, but that the federal government and the states are equal footing, which then puts the federal government just a head up because of the misapplication of the supremacy clause. And so what we have now is a former Republican Attorney General in Virginia said that the constitutional principles are at stake here. He says the sovereignty of the states and the supremacy clause, which gives the federal government an edge in clashes with the...
Ken Cuccinelli is totally wrong there. The federal government, the creation does not have an edge over the creator. So the states created the federal government just like God created each of us, and we as the created are not sovereign over the creator.
States. Okay, so this is where we get now. This is where this dual sovereignty means. So in law school, dual sovereignty sets the states and the federal government up like this. Then, as this former Republican Attorney General in Virginia, and I don't know how to say his last name, his first name's Ken, he says, okay, so here we start off here.
Oh, Ken Cuccinelli, yeah.
Yeah, Ken, is that how you say it? Cuccinelli.
Yeah.
Okay, so Ken Cuccinelli says, yes, we have this dual sovereignty, which we're taught means equal, but the supremacy clause gives the federal government an edge, and that's what I was trying.
The supremacy clause doesn't give anybody an edge. It defines that the Constitution is supreme, and only those laws that are made in pursuance of the Constitution are constitutional. Any laws that aren't made in pursuance of the Constitution are unconstitutional. So if they're saying that the federal government is supreme over the states, please show me where that has been amended into the Constitution. And the 14th Amendment doesn't pertain.
Here they go, coming out of turn 3. It's going to run neck and neck. It's going to head to the finish line. And federal government wins by a nose.
From the supremacy clause, wins by a nose. Right. So I have up here on the YouTube channel, so you can see this. This is the supremacy clause. Because in law school, and you will hear people say this over and over again, JC, the supremacy clause makes the federal government supreme to the states.
That's the imagination of Elena Kagan before she removed the requirement of a constitutional study to graduate from Harvard. I don't know if it was Harvard or Harvard Law School. But anyway, I'm going to skip ahead here just a few minutes, just at random. Hopefully that I will land on something that pertains.
Clause, actually.
But there's nowhere, not a single phrase in the entire clause that says the federal government is supreme over anything. There's no reference to the federal government in any way whatsoever.
JD is so right there, and this is what we need to drill into everybody's heads. And our elected representatives that don't understand this need to either learn it or be removed from office. Thank you, JD. Bravo. Thank you, Lord, for letting me hop ahead to his statement.
But it actually says, JC, when you read it through the proper grammar, that laws that are not made in pursuance to the Constitution are not binding upon the states.
Right.
It says, this Constitution and the laws of the United States, which shall be made in pursuance thereof.
So, Krisanne is absolutely right there. That is the wording of the supremacy clause. And so, laws that are made beyond the Constitution, that are not made in pursuance, are no law at all.
Shall be the supreme law of the land, and the judges in every state shall be bound thereby. So if you grammatically stick a no in there, the laws of the United States which are not made in pursuance thereof shall not be the supreme law of the land, and the judges in every state shall not be bound thereby. Now you're my...
I really love her sticking the not in there. That really brings it home.
Grammar guy, I'm not changing anything about the meaning of this, am I? We are applying the meaning in the negative. And so what Paxton's office is simply saying is this: look, the Constitution does not delegate to you an authority to over the states. And since you're asserted...
Okay, Ken Paxton's getting it right there. No authority over the states, but this co-sovereignty thing, I just don't know where I've seen that anywhere, and I believe it's a fig Newton of somebody's imagination. Bravo, Krisanne.
Authority is not made in pursuance to the Constitution, then we are not bound by it.
It's a subversion of authority is what they do here. Everything in the clause is pointing to the Constitution. The Constitution is the theme, is the subject of this statement. And they subvert that by replacing Constitution as the object of the phrase with federal government. The Constitution is not the same thing as the...
So I don't know where they got that federal government part. So JD is right. I love it. This is what everybody needs to know and needs to teach and needs to hold their elected representatives to. I'm going to go ahead and turn this recording off, this segment off, and maybe jump in later.